Most people look at Elon Musk and see the headlines: rockets piercing the sky, electric cars rewriting an industry, ambitious promises about Mars and the future of humanity. They see controversy, brilliance, exhaustion, risk, and relentless drive. What few people pause to notice is the quiet influence behind the noise, the steady presence that shaped the man long before the world learned his name. Behind the entrepreneur, the engineer, the disruptor, there is a mother who watched everything begin long before success had a vocabulary. Maye Musk never needed a spotlight to speak. Her message was never delivered as a speech to a crowd or written as a viral quote meant to be shared millions of times. It lived in moments, in choices, in the way she carried herself through adversity, and in the way she raised children while the world offered her very little certainty. Her message was not loud. That is why few people notice it. It is easy to imagine that extraordinary people come from extraordinary circumstances, but the truth is often less glamorous and more demanding. Maye Musk's life was not a smooth runway leading to her son's achievements. It was filled with struggle, reinvention, and persistence. She was a model and a dietitian, a single mother raising 3 children after a difficult marriage, moving countries, rebuilding from scratch more than once. She worked tirelessly. Not to create a myth, but to create stability. That alone says more than any motivational slogan ever could. The message she left was not written in ink. It was written in behavior. It was written in showing up to work even when exhausted, in refusing to collapse under fear, in choosing growth over comfort again and again. Children learn less from what parents say and far more from what they live. Elon Musk did not grow up hearing that life would be easy or fair. He grew up seeing that life responds to effort, resilience, and the courage to keep moving even when the odds feel unreasonable. There is something quietly radical about a parent who does not teach fear. Maye Musk never shielded her children from reality. But she also did not teach them to shrink from it. When money was tight, she worked more. When doors closed, she found new ones. When circumstances demanded change, she adapted. The unspoken lesson was simple and powerful. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by what you do next. Few people notice this message because it does not arrive wrapped in drama. It does not demand applause. It does not flatter the ego. It asks for responsibility. It asks for patience. It asks for long-term thinking in a world addicted to shortcuts. That is not a message most people are eager to hear. Elon Musk's willingness to take enormous risks did not come from recklessness. It came from growing up in an environment where trying was more important than avoiding failure. His mother did not teach him to play small to stay safe. She showed him, by example, that safety is not the absence of risk but the presence of capability. When you know you can rebuild, failure loses its power to paralyze you. This is where many people misunderstand success. They look for a secret formula, a hidden trick, a single defining moment. What they miss is the slow accumulation of values that shape decision-making over decades. Maye Musk's message was never about becoming famous or wealthy. It was about becoming capable. Capable of learning. Capable of working. Capable of starting over without bitterness. There is also a deeper, more human layer to her influence. Raising children is not only about teaching skills. It is about shaping identity. Maye Musk treated her children as individuals with their own minds, their own interests, and their own paths. She encouraged curiosity instead of conformity. She did not ridicule unconventional ideas. She did not demand that her children fit neatly into predefined boxes. That kind of freedom is rare, and it creates people who are comfortable thinking differently. Few people notice how powerful this is. Most children grow up learning what not to say, what not to want, what not to question. Elon Musk grew up in an environment where questioning was normal, where learning was constant, and where independence was not punished. When a child grows up like that, they do not wait for permission to imagine a different future. Maye Musk's message also included something many overlook: dignity in work. She did not present work as something to escape, but as something that gives structure, pride, and momentum. Whether she was modeling, studying nutrition, or consulting as a dietitian, she treated her work seriously. Not because it brought fame, but because it brought self-respect. That lesson echoes loudly in a man known for working extreme hours in pursuit of his vision. Another part of the message lies in how she handled hardship. She did not dramatize suffering, nor did she deny it. She acknowledged difficulty and then acted. This teaches a child an essential truth: pain is not a signal to stop. It is information. It tells you something matters. It tells you change is required. It does not tell you that you are defeated. This perspective is deeply embedded in Elon Musk's approach to challenges. When rockets exploded, when companies nearly collapsed, when critics laughed and investors fled, he did not interpret these moments as proof that the dream was foolish. He treated them as problems to be solved. That mindset did not appear overnight. It was cultivated in a home where quitting was never romanticized. Few people notice that Maye Musk never tried to live through her children. She supported them without controlling them. She believed in their potential without needing to script their outcomes. This balance is incredibly difficult for parents to achieve. Many push too hard, crushing individuality. Others withdraw too much, leaving children without guidance. Her message was subtle: I trust you, and I expect you to try. Trust is a powerful accelerant. When a child feels trusted, they take ownership of their choices. They accept responsibility not because they are forced to, but because they want to be worthy of that trust. Elon Musk's intense sense of ownership over his work reflects this deeply ingrained value. There is also a lesson in patience. Maye Musk did not see overnight success, either for herself or for her children. She built her career over decades. She returned to modeling later in life, defying cultural expectations about age. She continued to learn, adapt, and work well beyond the point where many people slow down. The message here is quiet but profound. Your timeline does not need to match anyone else's. This idea counters one of the most damaging myths of modern culture, the belief that if success does not come quickly, it will never come at all. Elon Musk's story, and his mother's example, dismantle that illusion. They show that long-term vision requires long-term effort, and that progress often hides behind years of invisible work. Few people notice that Maye Musk never framed her life as a sacrifice. She did not portray herself as a victim of circumstance or a martyr for her children. She took responsibility for her choices and made the best of them. This instills a powerful sense of agency. It teaches that life is not something that happens to you, but something you actively shape. That sense of agency is at the core of Elon Musk's worldview. He does not wait for permission from institutions, industries, or traditions. He sees problems and assumes they are solvable. That assumption is not arrogance, it is learned confidence rooted in experience. The message also included emotional resilience. Maye Musk did not collapse into cynicism or resentment despite facing serious challenges. She did not teach her children to blame the world. She taught them to understand it. This distinction matters. Blame drains energy. Understanding creates leverage. Few people notice how rare this mindset is. Many grow up internalizing narratives of limitation. They are taught what they cannot do, what people like them do not achieve, what is unrealistic. Elon Musk grew up internalizing a different story. If something matters enough, you figure it out. That story did not guarantee success. It guaranteed effort. And effort, sustained over time, changes probabilities. This is the quiet truth behind extraordinary outcomes. Maye Musk's message also contained an understated form of courage, the courage to be different without making a performance out of it. She did not seek validation for her choices. She simply made them. This normalizes independence. When children see that being different does not require rebellion or apology, they learn to follow their own reasoning rather than social pressure. This influence is visible in Elon Musk's comfort with being misunderstood. He does not adjust his vision to fit popular opinion. He tolerates criticism because he was never taught that approval is a requirement for self-worth. That lesson begins at home. Few people notice that her message was not about success at all. It was about competence, curiosity, and character. Success was a possible outcome, not the goal. This distinction changes everything. When success is the goal, fear of failure dominates. When growth is the goal, failure becomes part of the process. Maye Musk embodied this long before it was fashionable to talk about growth mindsets. She lived it. And living a value is far more powerful than preaching it. There is something else hidden in her message: respect for reality. She did not indulge in wishful thinking. She understood constraints and worked within them creatively. This grounded optimism is rare. It avoids both naive positivity and bitter pessimism. It says, the world is hard, and you can still do something meaningful within it. Elon Musk's ventures reflect this balance. His ideas are bold, sometimes audacious, but they are anchored in engineering, physics, and execution. Dreaming alone does nothing. Dreaming combined with disciplined effort changes industries. Few people notice how much emotional stability this message creates. Children raised in chaos often seek external validation. Children raised in quiet resilience develop internal standards. Elon Musk measures himself by what he builds, not by how he is perceived. That internal compass is a gift. Maye Musk's message also acknowledged that life is not linear. Careers can pause, restart, and transform. Identity is not fixed. She reinvented herself multiple times without framing it as failure. This teaches adaptability, one of the most valuable traits in a rapidly changing world. When people ask how Elon Musk can move between industries, software, energy, aerospace, neuroscience, they miss this foundational lesson. He was raised by someone who proved that learning does not stop and that reinvention is not shameful. Few people notice the humility embedded in this message. Confidence does not require knowing everything. It requires believing you can learn. Maye Musk never positioned herself as flawless or all-knowing. She learned alongside her children. This created a culture of exploration rather than obedience. This is why Elon Musk reads obsessively, asks unconventional questions, and challenges assumptions. He was never taught that authority replaces understanding. The message also included something deeply human: compassion without weakness. Maye Musk cared deeply for her children, but she did not insulate them from responsibility. She supported them emotionally while expecting effort. This balance is difficult, and it creates adults who are both driven and grounded. Few people notice how this kind of upbringing reduces entitlement. Elon Musk does not expect success to be handed to him. He expects to work for it, suffer for it, and persist through it. That expectation was set early. There is a final layer to her message that often goes unnoticed: hope without illusion. She believed in the future, not because it was guaranteed to be kind, but because it could be shaped. This kind of hope is active, not passive. It demands participation. This perspective aligns perfectly with Elon Musk's long-term vision for humanity. His projects are not about comfort, they are about survival, progress, and expansion. Whether one agrees with his ideas or not, they are rooted in a belief that the future is something we build, not something we wait for. Maye Musk did not leave a message carved in stone. She left one woven into daily life. It does not trend on social media. It does not fit neatly into a quote graphic. It requires observation, patience, and reflection to see. Few people notice it because it asks for responsibility instead of offering reassurance. It says, "Life is hard, and you are capable." It says, "You will fall, and you can stand up again." It says, "Think for yourself, work consistently, and do not be afraid to start over." This message does not promise greatness. It prepares you for it, and perhaps that is why it mattered so much. The message continues in ways that are even quieter, almost invisible unless you slow down enough to look closely. It lives in the spaces between ambition and humility, between confidence and restraint. Maye Musk never taught her children that the world owed them anything. She taught them that the world responds to effort, preparation, and persistence. That single idea, repeated silently over years, becomes a powerful internal engine. One of the least noticed aspects of her influence is how she treated uncertainty. Many parents panic when the future looks unclear. They transmit anxiety without realizing it. She did the opposite. She accepted uncertainty as a normal condition of life. Moves between countries, career transitions, financial instability, these were not framed as disasters but as challenges to navigate. When uncertainty is normalized, fear loses its grip. This is crucial. People who fear uncertainty cling to stability even when it limits them. People who accept uncertainty explore. Elon Musk's willingness to pursue ideas that seem improbable to others reflects this early conditioning. He was never taught that uncertainty was a warning sign. He was taught that it was a starting point. Another quiet lesson was self-reliance paired with openness. Maye Musk worked independently, made her own decisions, and carried responsibility with grace. At the same time, she did not isolate herself emotionally or intellectually. She learned from others, sought opportunities, and adapted to new environments. This balance teaches that strength does not require isolation. And independence does not mean refusing help. Few people notice how this shows up later in leadership. Elon Musk is known for intense involvement and high expectations, but he also gathers talent, challenges them, and learns rapidly. That dynamic, self-driven but not closed off, mirrors the environment he grew up in. There was also a deep respect for competence. Not titles, not appearances, not social approval, competence. Maye Musk valued people who could do things well, who understood their craft, who took pride in learning. This instills a focus on substance over image. When a child absorbs this value, they stop chasing shortcuts and start building foundations. This may be why Elon Musk is less interested in polish and more obsessed with function. Rockets must work. Cars must perform. Systems must scale. Words and promises mean little without execution. That orientation does not come from ego, it comes from early exposure to the dignity of real work. Another part of the message is how she handled comparison. She did not measure her life against others, and she did not encourage her children to do so. Comparison breeds insecurity or arrogance, depending on the direction. By avoiding it, she allowed her children to focus on their own progress. Growth became internal, not competitive for the sake of validation. Few people notice how freeing this is. When you stop comparing, you gain time, energy, and clarity. Elon Musk competes with problems, not people. His reference point is what is possible, not who is ahead or behind. That mindset traces back to a home where self-worth was not negotiated through comparison. The message also carried an unspoken respect for intelligence without worshipping it. Curiosity was encouraged, learning was normal, but intellect was not treated as a badge of superiority. This matters. When intelligence is worshipped, failure becomes shameful. When intelligence is treated as a tool, failure becomes feedback. This is visible in how Elon Musk approaches learning. He does not pretend to know everything. He reads, asks, tests, revises. He is willing to look uninformed in the short term to become informed in the long term. That humility is learned. Maye Musk also modeled endurance without bitterness. She did not carry resentment for what life did not give her. She focused on what she could still build. This protects the next generation from inheriting unresolved anger. Children sense bitterness even when it is unspoken. She chose clarity instead. Few people notice how rare this is. Many adults unconsciously pass their disappointments down as warnings. She passed her strength down as permission. There is a subtle but powerful message in how she aged. She did not retreat. She expanded. She continued working, modeling, speaking, contributing. She challenged the idea that relevance has an expiration date. This teaches that life is not a peak followed by decline, but a series of evolving chapters. This matters more than it seems. When children see adults shrink with age, they associate time with loss. When they see adults grow, they associate time with depth. Elon Musk's long-term thinking, projects that span decades, aligns with this perspective. The message also includes boundaries. Strength without boundaries becomes burnout. Maye Musk worked hard, but she also maintained self-respect. She did not define herself solely through struggle. She valued health, learning, and dignity. This shows that resilience is not self-destruction. Few people notice how this shapes ambition. Ambition rooted in self-respect is sustainable. Ambition rooted in proving worth is exhausting. Elon Musk's intensity is often misunderstood, but beneath it is a clear sense of purpose rather than a need for validation. Another layer is emotional honesty without dramatization. Feelings were acknowledged but not allowed to dominate action. This teaches emotional regulation, not suppression. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still try. This is a crucial life skill. Many people wait to feel ready before acting. Those raised with this message act despite discomfort. Elon Musk's career is filled with moments where certainty was absent but action continued. Few people notice that Maye Musk never tried to make her children extraordinary. She tried to make them capable. Extraordinary outcomes are a side effect of that approach. Capability scales. Character compounds. Her message also resisted victimhood. Even when circumstances were unfair, she did not adopt a narrative of powerlessness. This does not mean denying injustice, it means refusing to let it define identity. That distinction empowers rather than excuses. This is visible in how Elon Musk responds to criticism and obstacles. He does not center himself as a victim. he centers the problem. That orientation keeps momentum alive. There is something profoundly stabilizing about growing up with this message. It creates adults who are internally anchored. They are less reactive, less dependent on praise, less crushed by setbacks. They know that effort matters, that learning continues, and that identity is not fragile. Few people notice that this kind of upbringing produces not just achievers, but builders. Builders accept complexity. They tolerate frustration. They think long-term. They understand that meaningful work is rarely smooth. Maye Musk's message did not promise happiness. It promised agency. And agency is more valuable. Happiness fluctuates. Agency endures, as the world watches Elon Musk debate, innovate, fail, recover, and push forward. They often attribute his behavior to personality, genius, or controversy. What they miss is the foundation. Before the companies, before the fame, before the pressure, there was a mother quietly demonstrating how to live without fear of effort. Her message is not exclusive to one family or one outcome. It is available to anyone willing to adopt it. Work with dignity. Learn constantly. Adapt without resentment. Trust yourself enough to try. Accept uncertainty. Build competence. Start over when necessary. Few people notice this message because it does not entertain. It does not soothe. It does not excuse. It equips, and in a world full of noise, perhaps the most powerful messages are the ones that whisper, not shout, waiting patiently for those ready to listen. The final part of the message is the one that stays with you long after the story fades, because it does not belong to Elon Musk alone. It belongs to anyone who pays attention long enough to recognize it. Maye Musk never tried to control the outcome. She focused on the process. She understood something many never do. You cannot design a life by demanding certainty, approval, or comfort. You design it by committing to growth and letting results emerge over time. This creates a strange kind of peace, not the peace of ease, but the peace of knowing you can handle what comes next. Few people notice how liberating this is. When you stop demanding guarantees, you stop postponing action. You move forward imperfectly, and momentum replaces fear. Elon Musk's willingness to bet everything on ideas that mattered to him reflects this early lesson. He was raised by someone who understood that security is built, not granted. Another quiet truth in her message is acceptance of loneliness. Not emotional isolation, but the solitude that comes with thinking differently. Maye Musk did not teach her children to seek consensus at the expense of integrity. She modeled standing by her choices even when they were not popular. This prepares a child for the reality that meaningful paths are often walked alone, at least for a while. Few people talk about this part of growth. The space between deciding and being understood can be long and uncomfortable. Those who cannot tolerate it abandon their path. Those who can endure it often change things. Elon Musk's ability to persist through public doubt, ridicule, and skepticism reflects this emotional conditioning. The message also includes restraint. Not every thought needs applause. Not every effort needs validation. Maye Musk lived without constant external affirmation. She found satisfaction in progress itself. This teaches intrinsic motivation, which is far more powerful and stable than external rewards. This is why Elon Musk continues working even after achieving wealth and recognition that would satisfy most people. His drive is not fueled by applause, it is fueled by purpose. That kind of drive does not burn out easily. Few people notice how this message dismantles entitlement. When effort is normalized and struggle is not dramatized, expectations stay realistic. Success feels earned, not owed. Failure feels temporary, not personal. This emotional framing changes how a person relates to both outcomes. There is also an implicit respect for time. Maye Musk did not rush life. She allowed seasons to unfold. She understood that some things cannot be forced. This patience does not conflict with ambition, it supports it. Rushing creates brittle results. Patience builds resilient ones. Elon Musk's long-term projects reflect this understanding. Whether it is building reusable rockets or transforming global energy systems, these are not short games. They require endurance, iteration, and the ability to delay gratification. The message also acknowledges that strength can be quiet. You do not need to announce your resilience. You demonstrate it by continuing. Maye Musk never framed herself as extraordinary. She simply refused to stop growing. That humility makes strength sustainable. Few people notice how contagious this kind of strength is. Children absorb it without instruction. They internalize it as normal. They grow up believing that effort is expected, learning is continuous, and adaptation is possible. Another overlooked part of her message is forgiveness. Without forgetting. She did not allow past difficulties to poison the future. She learned, adjusted, and moved forward. This protects emotional energy. Bitterness consumes more than it ever repays. This emotional clarity gives rise to strategic thinking. When you are not trapped in resentment, you can see options. Elon Musk's ability to pivot, restructure, and rebuild reflects this clarity. The message also resists drama. Life is treated as serious but not theatrical. Problems are addressed, not exaggerated. This creates emotional stability. When crises arise, they are met with focus rather than panic. Few people notice how essential this is for leadership. Panic spreads faster than solutions. Calm creates space for thinking. That calm is learned early. Maye Musk's message ends where it began, with responsibility. Not blame, not excuses, not entitlement. Responsibility for effort, learning, and choices. This is not a burden, it is a source of power. When you accept responsibility, you gain influence over outcomes. This is perhaps the most important part of the message. It explains why Elon Musk does not wait for ideal conditions. He works with what exists and improves it. He does not outsource responsibility for the future. He assumes it. Few people notice this message because it does not flatter. It does not comfort. It does not promise ease. It promises capability, and capability changes everything, in a world searching for shortcuts, hacks, and instant inspiration. Maye Musk's message stands quietly in contrast. It does not ask you to believe in magic. It asks you to believe in work, learning, patience, and courage. It does not promise that you will become exceptional. It promises that you will become resilient, and resilience, sustained over time, has a way of reshaping lives, industries, and even the future itself. That is the message she left behind. It was never meant to be noticed by everyone, only by those ready to live it.